Claude Opus 5 is here, and today we're putting it through a real creative coding test. Using Claude Code, we're going to build our own version of one of the most popular and recognizable 2D games ever made, Flappy Bird. But Claude won't just write the code. For all the characters, obstacles, backgrounds, and interface assets, we'll connect it to Higgsfield through MCP. So today, we'll see whether Claude Opus 5 can manage the complete workflow, from planning and visual generation to a polished, fully playable game. Anthropic describes Claude Opus 5 as a step change from Opus 4.8, with the biggest improvements in deep reasoning, agentic work, and tasks that run across longer periods of time. The benchmark results reflect that broader focus. Opus 5 performs strongly across coding, search, computer use, knowledge work, business workflows, and complex problem solving. The interesting part is not one isolated score, but how consistently the model performs across very different types of work. Under the hood, Opus 5 has a 1 million token context window, supports much longer outputs, and now uses thinking by default. Anthropic has also made the effort setting more meaningful, allowing the model to spend more reasoning power on difficult tasks or operate more efficiently when that depth is not required. It can even change the tools available to it during an ongoing conversation while preserving context, which shows that Opus 5 is designed less for isolated prompts and more for complex, long-running agentic workflows. And this is where Higsfield enters the workflow, giving Opus 5 access to creative tools that are not built into the model itself. For those of you who don't know or haven't used Higgsfield before, it's a creative platform for generating images, videos, ads, and other production-ready visual assets. Instead of moving between several separate tools, you can create different parts of a project in one place and choose from a range of image and video models depending on what the workflow needs. More importantly for this project, Higsfield MCP also provides an MCP connection. MCP stands for Model Context Protocol, and the simple way to think about it is that it gives an AI assistant a controlled way to connect with external tools and use their capabilities directly. In this case, Higsfield MCP gives Claude access to image and video models such as GPT Image 2, Nano Banana, Dance, and others, allowing it to generate the game assets, download them into the project folder, organize the files, and then use those visuals while building the game, all from the same Claude workflow. Now let's connect Higsfield MCP to Claude. From the main Higsfield page, open the MCP and CLI section. This page shows the different AI tools that can connect to Higsfield, including Claude, ChatGPT, Cursor, Claude Code, OpenClaw, and Hermes, with separate options for MCP and CLI. For this workflow, select Claude and MCP, then copy the Higsfield connector URL shown here. Next, open the Claude app, go to Customize, and select Connectors. Click Add in the top right corner, choose Add Custom Connector, enter Higsfield as the name, and paste the connector URL we just copied. Then click Add and complete the authorization if Claude asks you to sign in. As you can see, I already have Higsfield MCP connected, so everything is ready for the workflow. Now that the connector is ready, let's return to what we're actually building. The goal is to create our own polished Flappy Bird-style 2D game, and we're going to handle the complete development workflow inside Claude Code. As you can see, I've already selected the local project folder, and for the model, I'm using Claude Opus 5 with the effort level set to high. Inside the folder, I have the complete master prompt saved as a markdown file, along with several reference images that Claude can analyze before creating a similar but original visual direction for the game. Before I run the prompt, let's quickly go through the most important parts. First, the prompt gives Claude several connected roles. It needs to work as a game developer, gameplay designer, UI designer, technical artist, and creative director. So it is responsible for more than just writing code. It has to plan the entire project, understand the visual direction, manage the assets, and turn everything into a complete experience. The first major rule is that the workflow is divided into two separate stages. Claude must generate and organize the complete visual set first, then stop and wait for my approval. It is specifically instructed not to build the final gameplay system until those visuals have been reviewed and approved. Before generating anything, Claude has to inspect the existing folder and analyze every reference image. It needs to study the character proportions, obstacles, backgrounds, colors, interface, composition, and overall visual style. It will also check the existing project structure and choose the simplest, reliable technology for building the game locally. The next part defines the complete asset pipeline. Claude has to create a detailed manifest covering the character animation, obstacles, background layers, ground, menus, buttons, score elements, icons, and other visuals, with GPT Image 2 as the primary generation model, with Nano Banana Pro and Nano Banana 2 used as fallbacks if the previous model fails. Claude must confirm the live model identifiers first and record which model produced every selected asset. Every generated file also has to be downloaded and organized inside the project. The prompt separates the original generations, the selected review assets, and the final approved assets into different folders. Then, Claude prepares contact sheets and a visual review document, making it easy to inspect the complete visual set without going through individual Higgsfield generations. Only after I approve those visuals can Claude begin the second stage and build the actual game. That includes the player physics, controls, procedural obstacles, collision detection, scoring, progressive difficulty, animation, audio, responsive behavior, and all of the different game states. Finally, it has to test the complete project, fix any errors, verify the production build, and make sure the game runs smoothly on both desktop and mobile. Now, I'm not going to paste the entire master prompt into the chat, because the markdown file is already inside the working folder. I only need to give Claude one simple instruction. Read and execute the instructions in the markdown file exactly. Stop after generating and saving the visuals. Wait for my approval, then build the complete game. Once I send this, Claude reads the full prompt, inspects the reference images, prepares the asset plan, and starts generating the visuals through Higsfield MCP. As you can see, the visuals have now been generated. Claude displays the results directly inside the conversation, so we can immediately review the daytime and nighttime gameplay mockups, the complete asset sheet, the character frames, and the interface elements without leaving the chat. The visual direction is consistent across the complete set. We have a yellow pixel art character, green obstacles, bright daytime and darker nighttime environments, plus a matching retro interface. Claude also confirms that GPT Image 2 successfully generated the visual set, so neither of the fallback models was required. Now let's inspect what Claude actually created inside the project. At the top level, we have separate folders for the assets, documentation, and processing tools. Inside the assets folder, we have the original references, the raw source generations, the selected review files, and an approved folder. The review folder is divided into categories such as backgrounds, characters, obstacles, and UI, along with additional folders for the ground, branding, and effects. Claude also created combined contact sheets and full gameplay mockups, which makes it much easier to review the entire visual system at once. Inside the character folder, we have 4 animation states: wings up, wings in the middle, wings down, and a falling frame. The backgrounds include separate daytime, nighttime, and cloud layers, while the obstacle folder contains matching top and bottom pipes. We also have the ground tile and the remaining supporting assets prepared separately. The complete contact sheet gives us a clearer overview of the interface. There is an original title called Pixel Flap, a game over treatment, a scoreboard, and play and retry buttons. We also have pause and sound controls, different metal states, a score effect, an application icon, a thumbnail, and the rest of the supporting game visuals. Claude has also prepared the documentation for this stage. That includes the asset manifest, reference analysis, generation record, and visual review document. The original generation files and rejected alternatives are preserved as well, so the process is documented instead of only keeping the final selected images. So I'm happy with this visual set. I'll reply with approved. This confirms the visuals and allows Claude to move into the second stage, processing the approved assets and building the complete playable game. Claude has now finished the second stage and built the complete game. Before calling it done, it created an automated gameplay test system and ran 53 checks covering the physics, obstacle generation, scoring, restarting, memory behavior, and responsive layout. All 53 checks passed. Now let's open the project in VS Code and test the final result. The folder now contains the complete source code, approved assets, automated tests, documentation, and a production build. To run it locally, I'll install the project dependencies and start the development server. And here is the finished game. The start screen already looks polished, with the Pixel Flap title, the animated character, a clear control instruction, the play button, the saved best score, and a sound control in the top corner. When I start the game, the controls feel immediate and responsive. The character moves through its different wing frames, tilts based on its vertical movement, and leaves a small particle effect after each input. The score updates at the top, and we also have a pause button available during the run. The environment works really well with the generated assets. The nighttime city, layered clouds, green pipes, and stone and grass ground all feel visually connected. When the run ends, we get a complete game over screen with the current score, best score, medal result, and a retry button. If we set a new record, the interface shows that as well, and restarting begins a new run immediately without reloading the page. Overall, this is a strong result. Claude Opus 5 handled the planning, asset workflow, code structure, gameplay systems, testing, debugging, and final build, while Higsfield MCP gave it direct access to the visual generation tools required for the project. So after this test, I think Claude Opus 5 handled the project really well. It did not simply generate a few files and stop. It followed a long production plan, managed the approval checkpoint, worked with Higsfield MCP, organized all the generated assets, built the gameplay systems, and tested the finished project before presenting the result. The strongest part is how well it kept the complete workflow connected. The visuals remained consistent, the code was structured properly, and the final game actually feels polished and playable. For this type of long, agentic, creative coding task, Opus 5 is clearly a very capable model. If you want to try Higsfield MCP with Claude, you'll find the link in the description. You can use the same workflow to generate visual assets for games, websites, videos, ads, or other creative projects without constantly moving files between different tools. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments what you think about Claude Opus 5 and which game or creative workflow you want me to test next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.